A couple of things before we get started. If you have an electronic device on, could you please turn it off so we don't interfere with these proceedings? And second of all, if you plan on speaking on behalf of a petition, whether you're in favor or in opposition, before addressing the board, if you could sign in with your name and your address, please. Our first matter before us is under continuances, ZB 2016-17. The petition is a special permit. The applicant is Viewpoint Sign and Awning. The property is located at 41 Wellman Street, and the petition, special permit for a new internally illuminated sign for Fred C. Church, insurance pursuant to section 6.3 of the zoning ordinance. Is there a representative here from Fred C. Church? Hi.
My name's Lauren Cronin. I'm from Viewpoint Sign, the sign manufacturer.
Yep. So at our last meeting, obviously, we didn't have representation from you. That's okay, from your company. And so if you could just walk us through what the intention of the petition is, please.
Sure. So the existing sign, they're just looking to update it. Right now, it's currently individual channel letters that span across the top of one of the sides of the building. We're going to be removing all of those and patching and sealing all the holes from the previous letters, and then installing the new style channel letters, which are actually technically like they're called clouds. They're instead of individual letters, it's one big cabinet. So you have less holes put into the wall to run wires. Everything's going to be done externally using conduit and power supplies. That's pretty much it.
And we received, I guess, a rendition or a couple of documents here just showing the lettering. And is it just on, so you're going to replace just the existing signage that's currently there?
Correct.
Okay. There's no new signage going up, correct?
Not in addition to this.
Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
Not particularly. If you have any questions, I'm happy
Sure.
to answer them.
Okay. Sure. Thank you. Anyone here would like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Open it up to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any issues or concerns with the petition. The only thing that's been an issue for me, I guess, is if anyone's been to a UMass Lowell hockey game, when there's a power play, they chant Fred C. Church, Fred C. Church over and over again, and that's what I've had stuck in my head since the continuance 4 weeks ago. So, but no questions or concerns. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, it's a pretty straightforward project. They're, updating the signage and all the lighting's LED, so it's pretty straightforward. I have no comments.
Thank you. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask a couple of questions. The first thing is the sign seems to be matching the size of the existing sign. Is that correct?
Yes.
But the biggest difference that I see is the illumination. So the amount of signage that'll be illuminated is significantly increased. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is.
And it's not only going to be the letters themselves, but the blue background is also going to be illuminated. Is that right?
It will glow, but it won't be like an extremely bright light. I think the only real change between the two signs is that the existing set have blue faces. The vinyl is inset, so you have a white outline basically around the faces. With this one, you'll still have a glowing of blue, but the letters are much bolder.
Okay.
It won't be extremely bright. I mean, it won't blind any drivers or anything like that are driving past it.
Is part of the intent to improve visibility from the connector? Is that what you're trying to achieve?
I don't think that's
with
the
new
sole
sign?
intent. I'm sure that that's definitely part of it, but most of it is that they're just rebranding. They're trying to update their image.
Okay.
If you'll notice, the logo that is at the very beginning of the signage is different because they're just rebranding.
Okay, so it's largely a rebranding, but possibly a side effect is also to improve the visibility from.
It doesn't hurt.
All right, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One quick question, and I know it always comes up before the board, LED lighting, or no? Okay. That's usually the big thing with the people on the board here, too. The sign does look very well put together, and I wish you the best of luck. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess based on the questions and the comments from the board members and the intention of the petition, Fred C. Church Insurance has been with the city for quite a long time, and obviously they made a commitment with the city, and so by changing out the sign, it's probably a good time for that. And based on even the comments came back from the city when they did their review, there were no negative comments or any concerns about the signage. So with that, I don't think I heard, were there any conditions? Anybody ask about when the lights were going off, or do they have any control, over the?
I know it's on a timer. I don't know the specifics of it, but it won't change from what it is now.
Yeah.
It'll be, one of the primary goals is basically to take all of the wiring and everything out from the inside of the building, because I think currently the only way to access it is to go through another tenant's space. So we wanted to bring everything to the outside, and that's why you see, the drawings of the conduit and everything, will be on the timer that's specific with the hours of operation, I believe. It shuts off after a certain time and turns back on in the morning.
But you're not aware what the hours? It would
No,
be
but I can get that
illuminated.
information for you.
Well, I think sometimes we get feedback on that this time.
Sure.
I wasn't sure if anybody asked the question. Yeah, so what we'll do is, we're going to condition it, what we've done in the past with other petitioners that have come in here. And then if Fred C. Church has any issues with that, then they could call the city and we can discuss that. But,
Will we have to come back at the next meeting, or no? Okay,
No.
just provide you with that
No,
information?
we'll just have a condition that,
Okay.
And Dennis will read it into the record. Okay, any other comments by any of the board members? If not, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2016-17 for a special permit for viewpoint sign and awning at 41 Wellman Street with the following condition, that the hours of illumination remain consistent with those of the existing sign.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call. Approve with conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approve with condition.
Member Perrin,
Approve with conditions.
Member Peck,
Approve with conditions.
Member Paglia,
Approved with condition.
Member Callahan.
Approve with conditions.
Okay, been approved with conditions. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, next matter before us is ZB 2016-10. Petitions a special permit. The applicant is Manchester Property Group. Property is located at 491 Dutton Street. And the petition, the applicant is seeking special permit approval for a proposed adult day facility. The subject property is located in the urban mixed-use zoning district and requires special permit approval under section 12.3K of the Lowell zoning ordinance. We've received communication from the petitioner. I'll read it into the record. Manchester Property Group is withdrawing their petition for an elder day facility at 491 Dutton Street. And let's see. is withdrawing their application for an elderly 491 Dutch Street without prejudice. And that's pretty much it. So Judy, they're withdrawing and may come back some other day, correct?
Yes, they did not indicate, they indicated that they needed more time to work on the
Sure.
proposal, so they didn't indicate a time frame.
Okay, thank you. So if I have a motion to withdraw, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2016-10 for a special permit at 491 Dutton Street to be withdrawn without prejudice.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Approve the withdrawal.
Member Callahan,
Approve withdrawal.
Member McCarthy,
Approved to withdraw.
Member Paglia,
Approve withdrawal.
Member Peck,
Approve withdrawal.
and Member Perrin.
Approve withdrawal.
Okay, our next matter under continuances, as I have done in the past, I'm recusing myself from this petition. So Vice Chairman, Mr. Perrin will read it into the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matter before us, ZB 2016-8 for a special permit and variance by Jeff and Lynn Melman, 94 Buttman Road. The proposal is to reconstruct an existing garage without meeting the height requirements. The proposed project is located in the suburban single-family zoning district and requires special permit and variance approval upon section 4.5.3 and section 4.4.1.2 of the loading zoning ordinance. Is anyone here to speak on behalf? Petition?
Jeff Melman, 94 Buttman Road. We would like to withdraw the petition. If I may, I'd like to just provide a little bit of background and rationale. I'll try to do it very briefly if that's reasonable.
Certainly.
So just in terms of background, my wife and I were moving into Lowell. We had actually checked before we made an offer on the property as to whether we could build over the garage. My wife is a very accomplished painter. She's an artist. She was looking for a studio that we would be able to have on the property. We did contact the planning department and were under the impression, and it turned out not to be true, that we could go up to 35-foot mean height, or at least the existing height of the main house. That turned out not to be the case. It's a 16-foot mean height because it's a detached accessory structure. And we wouldn't have actually made the offer probably had we not been able to work something out. So what we did was we obviously at that point got advice from the planning department that we should apply for this variance and special permit. And at the February meeting when we were here, it became very clear that there was some opposition, and we continued it and basically went away to try to figure out how low we could get the roof on the second floor, or if there were other alternatives, and really just find a solution that would work for everybody. And I'm kind of happy to say that we think we have that, so that's the bottom line. But what we've done since the last time we were here was we looked at the minimum height if we were going to do it as a second story on a garage. And to make my wife's requirements clear, she paints by Northlight. She needs a big space to be able to do full-size portraits and things of that nature. It really is windows that go up to 12 feet in height for a 13-foot span. That doesn't allow you to do knee walls and bring the thing down if you're really going to run for a 13-foot horizontal span. So just informational. If we really wanted to get it to the minimum height on top of the garage, if the second floor starts at 9.5 feet, and you got to run up at least 12, you're at 21.5. And let's say you need 6 inches of clearance between the ceiling, you're at 22. And if you need another foot for the roof thickness, you're at 23 with a flat roof, which as a New England guy, I'm not a fan of. So it was pretty clear that that wasn't going to really be satisfactory to folks who were looking for us to not raise the roof in the garage. So we looked at another option, an addition on the house, and it may cost us more money to do it, but that seems like a better solution. What we would be doing is a 2-story addition on the house. I have spoken with some of the neighbors about that, and that seems to, in principle, even though we don't have a full building plan yet, alleviate the concerns that they had, as well as I've worked with the planning department to try to understand exactly what the constraints are so that we fit under existing zoning provisions. And we have confirmed that in writing. So in summary, we think we've listened, to the objections. We've come up with a better solution. We think that it's viable. We've done our due diligence on what is required from a zoning perspective. So for those reasons, we would like to withdraw the applications for the special permanent variance on the garage rebuild. Any questions?
No, I appreciate the summary and your due diligence in reaching out both to the planning board and the neighborhood group, and coming before us with the request for withdrawal. Thank you. At that time, I seek a motion to accept withdrawal.
Through Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2016-08 for a special permit and variance at 94 Buttman Road to withdraw without prejudice.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call.
Vice Chair Perrin,
Accept the withdrawal.
Member Callahan,
Accept withdrawal.
Member McCarthy,
Approved to withdraw.
Member Paglia,
Approve withdrawal without prejudice.
and Member Peck.
Approve withdrawal.
The board has accepted and approved the withdrawal of this zoning petition. This time, I'll turn to Chairman Bailey.
Okay, our next matter before us is under new business, ZB 2016-22, the petitions of variance. The applicant is Habitat for Humanity. Property is located at 75 Rock Street. And the proposal is to create 2 new lots, each containing an existing single-family dwelling unit without meeting lot area requirements, frontage requirements, and front and rear setbacks. The proposed project is located in the urban multifamily zoning district and requires variance approval from the zoning board under section 5.1 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. Is there a representative for the petitioner? Good evening.
Hi, I'm Brenda Gould. I'm the Executive Director for Habitat. I'm here to speak on behalf of the families. I just wanted to give a little bit of background on this. We purchased this property from the city of Lowell. We made a commitment to the city. We're affordable. We build homes for low-income families between 25 and 60% of the AMI. We made a commitment to the city of Lowell to do a neighborhood revitalization in the acre area and to build 10 new homes. This property, 75 Rock Street, was sold to us about a year ago in April, and at the time, we were doing our very best to split it into actually 2 separate houses, not a duplex, which we have already built 6 houses on that street, on Rock and Willie Street. So this was house number 7 and 8. So we built 2 single-family houses. I know we should have come before you before we built the houses, but I was under the impression that because they were separate houses, we would be able to get them as single lots. When we closed on 71 Rock Street back in February, we realized that we would still have to do a condominium association because it's only 1 lot. When we went to explore the costs of condominium and common area maintenance, the condo insurance was well over $2,500, which adds an extra $100 to $120 a month to these families to have to pay primarily just to put a fence up in between the lots. So I'm asking, I think there's a very small square footage issue, that you would grant that we would make these 2 lots so that we can have these families pay a reduced price, be responsible for their own homes, and not have to pay into condominium insurance, just buy single-family house insurance, which will be way cheaper.
Okay. So the petition's for 75 Rock Street, so what will the house numbers be?
They'll be 71 and 73, and the engineering department did give us 2 separate houses, house numbers already, so.
Yeah. Judy, do you have any record that it'll be 71 and 73? Or have you been acknowledge
Yeah,
that.
I haven't, the thought occurred to me today that if they've already assigned house lots, I mean, if they've already assigned addresses, I don't think they would change them at this point. So they assigned it based on the fact that it was all on one lot and the frontage was on Rock Street. I mean, I could ask them if this would mean that they would have to change it, but I doubt it. I mean, once they assign an address, there's nothing physically that's actually changing, so I think it would just make it more confusing if they were to make any changes.
Well, I'll just note that as probably a condition that, you know, at the end of the day, what are the actual numbers going to be? Not that I'm disputing if
Yeah.
you think it's 71, 73.
Yeah, hopefully it is, because we've already closed on one house as 71 Rock, so I guess
Okay.
we can re-record a deed if we have to.
Well, you never know.
Right.
Okay. Another question I have is, as far as parking, I'll call it for the rear structure, what's the parking arrangement for the two buildings, if I can ask that?
Both houses face Rock Street.
Yep,
The parking for 71 Rock is to the left, and the parking for 73 Rock is to the right, looking at it, so it's behind. They'll come in, I think it's Wiggins Court, they come in to park next to that house. So technically, the backyard of 73 Rock will be the
correct. And that's-
driveways, and the front yard of the other one, of 73,
Yeah.
will be.
And what type of fencing are we talking about between the two units?
Right now, they don't have any fencing. They would.
Mike, no, I know that. What would be the plan?
They probably would just put those white, I don't know what it's like a plastic fencing, just to give them a little bit of yard. I don't know if they have to go for a permit for that. They haven't mentioned it yet, but just so they can kind of block off their back door and their front door. But at this point, they haven't talked about a fence because we don't want to add extra cost.
Yep.
The rest of the fencing on the sides is Habitat's responsibility.
Okay. And the parking is for two vehicles, is that?
They should be able to fit 2 vehicles in there. We normally do 2 parking spaces for each home. I haven't physically seen it recently to actually see the 2 cars in there, but we normally do tandem parking for 2
Yeah.
parking.
Yeah, this case is a little unusual for us to entertain. I think you said at the very beginning that, you know, and I kind of had the same questions about what we're looking at, what are we voting on?
Right. I apologize because I didn't realize, I was under the impression because I had 2 lots, 2 houses, that once it was split to 71 and 73, I erroneously thought that that meant there was 2 lots and it wouldn't be a condominium association, but then I was told differently by our legal staff, our legal advisors.
Yeah, I guess I just want to make sure from a board perspective that, so Judy, I know when I look at the documents we were given, there really doesn't show anything with the parking and the size of the parking spots. But I didn't see anything in the petition or what we're looking at that spoke to parking. Am I correct in stating that?
Right, because as Brenda mentioned, when they built it, they did provide us with a site plan with the building
Yep.
permit. And we always review all the site plans to see if it needs zoning relief. And it met all the zoning, so it did not require any zoning relief for parking, certainly, so.
Yep. And the other discussion we had was, and I think you also talked about it, the zoning that the housing's going in. It's not in a traditional residential.
Yeah, we're trying to
zone.
make some of it residential. but
Yeah.
So far, so
Well,
good.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The requirements are definitely
Different.
different.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to add at this point, or?
Nope,
Do you-
if there's any other questions, but
Sure. Well, we'll see once we get to the
Okay.
board, but thank you. Anyone here that'd like to speak? I'll open it up to the public. Anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. Open it up to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm in favor of granting the special permit. I think the explanation and what Habitat does for work, for a living, not Habitat, but what you folks do for work to try to revitalize this section of the city and, of course, other places. It makes sense to try to alleviate some of the costs for the folks that are going to be moving into these homes, and the condo fees and the insurance would just add to that cost when you're looking to help low or moderate income people. So, but one thing I'd like to add, and it's really more to Judy, if you could, and I know it's not under this board's purview, but when I went out to the site this weekend just to get the lay of the land, the auto body shop, or I think they call themselves an auto body shop, it kind of looks like a junkyard to the left of the lot. And there's also, in the back of that lot, there's an old wooden garage that has, the roof has collapsed, and I would like to, at least through you, ask the proper city department inspectional services to go out and take a look at that site, because for these folks that are gonna be moving in, they'll be looking out their, back window or side windows at this lot that's really in, like I said, it's billed as an auto body shop, but most of the cars on the lot look like they've been there for several years. And there's a garage, again, that has the roof has collapsed, and it's just kind of sitting there. And so I think, again, it has nothing to do with this petition per se, but for the folks that will be moving in, I think it would be something we should look into.
I believe I know which property you're referring to, and if it's the one I'm thinking of, we've had many, many discussions with the property owner, so we're very, very aware of that situation.
Okay, thank you. And not to belabor the point, but there's a vacant lot to the right-hand side of 75 Rock Street that's filled with not filled with trash, but there's a lot of trash and debris, overgrown weeds, and there's also a small garage in the back of, looks like it used to be a one-car garage for a property that is no longer on that lot, and the same thing, the roof has collapsed, there's some graffiti inside the garage, so people must be climbing the fence at night or something and, spray painting inside the shed. And the same thing, I just think for the folks that, and also to help sell if both units aren't already sold, if someone could just, I guess, go back out there again and kind of take a look at. And again, I realize it's a mixed-use industrial area, but it doesn't mean that industrial properties shouldn't be properly maintained for the residents and other businesses in that neighborhood. So, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mike. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to kind of echo the comments of Ms. Paglia. I think what Habitat for Humanity does is a huge need in the city, and all the homes they build, they're amazing homes for low-income families who need adequate housing, and I think this particular home will kind of be like a rose in a bunch of weeds, so it's going to be a good addition to that area. So I fully support it.
Thank you. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm amazed at how well these projects are working out. They really look like they're well-scaled to the site and very nicely built. The quality seems outstanding. The site plan, though, that's submitted with this package is misleading, I think. And I think I'd like to make it a condition, if we could, to provide a final site plan that depicts the parking arrangement and the property lines defining the two lots as having frontage on Rock Street. Because I think that what we have in our package doesn't do that. And I just would like to see us have that product as part of the submission package.
I will ask the engineer to do that. I do want to mention the garage that you spoke of is actually on our property line, so we are in dispute on some of the things with the property line, but I can get a new drawing that shows where the property line is. It just happens to go through that garage, so we're working on that.
That and also how the
Parking.
parking is defined for the separate lots,
Okay.
because it doesn't seem like it currently is, I don't know how it's going to be done, so I just would like that information, I think.
Sure. I'll ask him tomorrow.
To be part of the, but I think that what you're doing there in that location is outstanding.
Okay,
I really support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I echo the sentiments of what Habitat for Humanity has done with the site. So I did have the same concern as Mr. McCarthy, just, you know, delineate, you know, the parking spaces for each, because it's not on the plan, and I wish you the best of luck, and I do support
Okay.
your project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I share the same sentiments as my fellow board members. I think what you're doing over there is really a great job. The buildings look like they're coming along very well, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Hopefully the next site will be a park in the other empty lot. That's what we're looking for. So I will try to get a site plan tomorrow. I don't know if I can get it that fast, but I'll call the engineer tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So, so in closing, you know, as I stated up front, this petition is, I'm not going to say most unusual, but usually we don't have a situation like this where we have these many variances that we're looking at. But I think at the end of the day, when we take a look at the organization, we also look at other construction that you've done in the area, and also considering the zone as far as meeting the criteria for the variances for this project. I think, again, to Dennis's point on the plans, and that's kind of where I was coming from also. I believe if we have a final set of plans that lays out exactly what the site would be, that would fit in with the vote we'll take this evening as far as the prerequisites that were required. In fact, I think the variances are slight in nature when we really look at each one of those. But I think you're providing an opportunity for two families now to, you know, join the neighborhood and give them an opportunity for the private ownership. So I don't see any intention here of disrupting anything in the area. In fact, it's quite an improvement. So I think the one condition I heard was to put together I'll call it a final set of plans based on the comments that the board members made. Were there any other conditions anyone else had? I don't believe so. Okay, so based on that, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2016-22 for variance for 75 Rock Street, with the condition that the applicant provide final site plans reflecting the frontage on Rock Street and the required parking.
I have a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey?
Approved with conditions.
Member Callahan?
Approved with conditions.
Member McCarthy?
Approved with conditions.
Member Paglia?
Approved with conditions.
Member Peck?
Approved conditions.
Member Perrin?
I'll approve with condition.
Hey, Ms. Gould, wish you the best of luck. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, our next matter before us is ZB 2016-23, petitions of variance. The applicant is Andrew Lukasik at 86 Fairfield Street. And the petition, the proposal is to enclose an existing deck to create a screened-in porch without meeting the side setback requirements. The proposed project is located in the suburban single-family zoning district and requires a variance from the zoning board under section 5.1 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Hi, how you doing this evening? I'm Andrew Lukasik, the property owner and the applicant. You said it's pretty simple. We just want to build a screened-in porch on the existing deck that we have, that we applied for a variance for actually in 2000 and were granted. It's a fairly simple, straightforward project. I've contacted all the immediate neighbors who would actually see the structure, and they're all fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that was the thing that kind of caught my eye, that you'd already had a variance approved back in 2000, correct? Yeah. And I guess what really just triggered this was actually, you know, enclosing it. So was it screened in? Is it pretty much with a roof and just screening it in on the sides? Are you going to have any permanent windows?
It currently has, it's just a deck right
Yep.
now, it has no roof. So the roof structure would be in addition to what's there currently.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, and we didn't receive any opposition from
We're trying to get some relief from the mosquitoes in the summer.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't blame you. Anything else you want to add at this point?
Nope.
Okay. And we did receive a set of plans. In fact, we received, a nice package from you, pretty much outlining exactly what you're doing. And so at this point, I'll open it up to the public. Anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Open it up to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any concerns with the petition. Again, I took a ride around the neighborhood this past weekend. A lot of the homes there have small little additions on the side or the back of their homes. This particular property is somewhat shielded both by a stockade fence and a lot of trees and things. And so even when I went around to the street behind your property, I still couldn't even quite see, where the deck was. So I can't see that by screening it in and putting a roof over it, it's going to make much of a difference, an appreciable difference in the neighborhood, as the planning office said. So that's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Van?
Straightforward project, so I have no comments.
Thank you. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think the property looks really well maintained. Outstanding
you.
job. The relief that you're looking for is the side yard setback would be 10 feet, and you have 8 foot 4 inches currently, or is it 8.4 inches?
I think that's,
So
Jack, do you remember, is that to the side of the deck or to the side of the house? So the existing deck is within the footprint of the house, so it's,
Right.
so we're not going any further than the existing house structure toward the property line. It's on
No, I
exactly
agree.
the.
You've made the gesture to not go as far as the existing house, so
Correct.
you're giving more green space on that side than the
Correct.
existing house does. And I think the relief is relatively minimal. It's under 2 feet of relief from the 10-foot setback, so it makes a lot of sense. It's almost like too bad you have to come before us.
Exactly.
It's really not much, but nice job. It looks nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I was by the property and I had a difficult time finding the deck itself, and once I did see it, I can see your concerns, and coming back after a previous variance, I do appreciate your concise package, which is always a pleasure, and I think you'll be well protected from the mosquitoes this summer. I do support your
Thank you.
I do support your petition. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with my fellow board members. The property is, the property is very well maintained, and there is it appears there's not going to be much of an impact on it because all the fence and everything covers up much of it. So I would be in approval with this, and I wish you the best of luck.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so based on comments of the board, and I believe comments I originally made, especially as it entails the approval back in 2000 that you received for the variance, obviously the only thing that triggered this is by putting a roof on and putting up some screens. So, and Dennis's point is right on as far as type of relief that you need. It's less than 2 feet. So I guess based on that, and I know there's no conditions, could have approval, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2016-23 for a variance at 86 Fairfield Street for relief for side yard setback.
Could I have a second?
Second the motion.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey?
Approved.
Member Callahan?
Approved.
Member McCarthy?
Approved.
Member Paglia?
Approved.
Member Peck?
Approve.
Member Perrin?
Approved.
All right, sir, you've been approved. Wish you the best of luck with the final product. Thank you. Have a good evening. Okay, our next matter before us is ZB 2016-24, the petitions of variance. The applicant is 32 Church Street LLC, property is located at 32 Church Street, and the petition seeking variance approval for the repaving of a non-conforming parking lot. The applicant is seeking variance approval under section 6.110 of the City of Lowell zoning ordinance. The parcel is approximately 8,224 square feet of land area and is located in the downtown mixed-use zoning district. Good evening, Mr. Geary. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just for the record, my name is Attorney Stephen Geary, and I represent 32 Church Street LLC in the petition here tonight for the variances for our parking in front of our law office building on 32 Church Street. We're seeking variances for dimensional relief for the curb cut as well as the number of spaces. And we believe that we do meet the criteria for owning to the circumstances relating to the shape of our structure and the land, and especially affecting such land and structures that not affecting generally the zoning intent, and that the relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, and that relief can be granted without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent of zoning. So to summarize our narrative that we submitted, that you can glance along at the plan that we submitted as well, we purchased this building in 2003 for the purpose of increased parking. Our office was formerly around the corner here from City Hall, and we had a growing practice with more attorneys coming on and a greater client base with not enough parking. We had an opportunity to buy this building at 32 Church Street, which was the Cooney Real Estate building for many years, and they had significantly more cars at this location than we do now, but it had enough cars to service our need and what we anticipated we would need as we grew, and that's what it does now. So what we're asking for tonight is just to maintain what we already have. We're not asking for anything in addition to that. We're not asking for anything that hasn't been like this for, what, as far as we can tell, for over 50 years. I mean, we have some photographs that go back, maybe 50 years that show the parking lot, exactly what in the condition it is right now. And we need these spots that are here right now. We have 5 attorneys there, we have staff members, and we do a variety of areas of law that require multiple cars coming on a daily basis. We have dozens of clients all week long. And if you go by our office at any point during the day, you'll see that almost every one of those spots is taken. Every once in a while, there's an extra spot. And the benefit to that is obviously that we don't burden the on-street parking issue that's, severely congested in that area. Where our office is kind of a tough area as far as congestion, because there's not a lot of additional parking. We have the Dunkin' Donuts to the east, and we have a huge office building to the west. And over the years, since we've been there, what we did realize is that to be able to, get along in harmony downtown, you have to be good neighbors. So, what happens is in the morning when we get there, there's 3 or 4 cars every day from Dunkin' Donuts, and on the weekends, there's cars from the bar that's right around the corner. And, to be good neighbors, we don't have a problem with that. We know that they're going to only be there for a short time and they're going to be gone, and they know that our business gets going, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and it's filled most of the day. So my point in saying all that is that we've come into this neighborhood, and we've been good neighbors in this neighborhood, and the neighbors, to be honest, have been good to us as well. So there's no issues with any kind of safety or any issues at all in that neighborhood, especially with our parking. We haven't had any issues since we've been there, and again, we're just asking for very slight dimensional relief, to maintain the existing curb cut, which I believe is 80 feet, and for the number of spots, relief from that, I believe it's 15, and we have 12, but, that's what we've had since we've gotten there. In fact, when we first got there, we had 5 or 6 additional spots in between our office and Dunkin' Donuts as you would park in facing our office. It wasn't Dunkin' Donuts at the time. They came in and they exercised their rights, and they had to use every inch of their property because they have a busy business, so we lost all those spots on the side of the building. But still, those were extra spots for us in our mind anyway. We needed all the spots in the front and all the spots in the back. And we do use those on a daily basis every day. and even losing one spot would be a considerable burden to us, and it would burden the neighborhood because it would require cars parking on the street that could otherwise park in our parking lot. So we think that the petition is very straightforward, and it just by way of history, how it came about is Comcast entered our property and put a utility box and a connection to the building next door, thinking that they had approval to do that, but it was a mistake. Nobody told us, and we went out there and saw the box, and we talked to the foreman, whoever's doing it. He said, "No, we have permission," and it turns out that they didn't. Whoever was supposed to contact us didn't, but we worked it out, and they said, "We did chew up your parking lot. We'll repave it." And we said, "Fine, just leave it there. Again, you're trying to be good neighbors. It doesn't affect us. Leave it there, and we'll agree that you repave our parking lot." We hired a contractor to do the work for him, and they went to pull a permit, and we were told by the engineer, "Well, your parking's, not in compliance right now with current zoning," although, we believe it's been there for at least 50 years. So in an effort to clean all that up and to make it as straightforward and simple as we could, we've petitioned the board tonight for these variances, again, for dimensional relief, the curb cut, and the number of spots. So happy to answer any questions. We haven't heard of any opposition to this. I can't imagine what it would be, given that we've been there or this parking scheme has existed for, at least over 50 years, and there haven't been any issues. But that's the gist of it, and again, happy to answer any questions. We did submit a second plan by email on Friday. I think we submitted a draft plan that we were working on that had a label, the handicap spot on the right side. We don't have a handicap spot. We never did. We have a lot of handicapped clients, and they always park on the left-hand, the western side. We have the ramp, that goes in without a lip, and we've never had any problem. And again, we have several handicapped clients all the time in our office, and we've never had an issue with that. So with respect to if this is approved tonight, our contractor would just deal with whatever he has to as far as the handicap spot. But I do agree, if there is one, it should be on the western side and not the eastern side. Makes more sense all around.
So I guess I'll call it the amended plan, did it show the handicap on the western side, or was there any change?
No change. So that's, I guess that's our point. We're just asking to maintain what we already have,
Okay.
and what we've had for quite a while. I think the DPD's comment was that, because they saw the original, the plan that we submitted, it was a draft that was just submitted by accident, that had the handicap on the eastern or the right-hand side if you're facing our office, and it just said HC. So the only thing that was changed in that other plan is the HC was just deleted, and there's no reference or
Correct.
designation for a handicap spot at all.
Yep. Okay. All right. Yeah, and I think, the other thing I was going to ask, and I think you've already hit on it, was the comments that came back from the city. But I guess one of the key things I heard would actually, would things trigger certain occurrences, not just with your petition, but, the gentleman that was here just before you, same type of thing, certain issues that get triggered. Okay, anything else you'd like to add at this point?
That's it for me, but again, I'm happy to answer any questions, and it's just asking to maintain what we have right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, going to open it up to the public. Anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, my question or concern is really directed more towards Judy, although you may have something to say about it. One of the comments that the planning office provided was in regard to some incomplete plans for either redesign of that area, Church Street Central, and how that might affect this parking situation in the future. And I don't know if you have anything to add to that. Are they talking about new sidewalks, curbing, parking spaces along the Dunkin' Donuts or something like that?
There had been some discussion about putting a sidewalk there. And so that would involve, closing that curb cut, putting, the granite curbing, and having an actual sidewalk. So I would say that's probably a long-term plan, meaning 5 years out. So there's no immediate plans right now. There's nothing in the budget for next year or even the year after. When the engineering department does their budgets, this would be a significant cost item to put granite curbing and parking along this area. So it's something that, they brought up when they came in for the paving permit. They said, well, this is something we're thinking of in the future, but we don't have any definitive plans right now.
And if there was an actual plan, it's something that the city would have to work out, not only with this petitioner, but other properties in the area further down Church Street or on the other side where the visiting nurses building is and so on. Okay. All right, thank you. I don't have any questions for the petitioner. Again, I think it's fairly straightforward. It's a very unusual lot. Like you said, it's been in that condition probably, well, since before I was born. And so it's just a matter of the repaving being done. So I don't have any other questions or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Van?
It's straightforward. I have no comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Dennis?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple of questions. The handicapped access, are you saying that we are going to have a handicap space designated in the new design?
Well, we called our, today, we followed up with our paving contractor this afternoon, anticipating that question, Mr. McCarthy, and what he said is, we'll comply with whatever the requirements are to do that. I mean, I think if we did it, it would just have to be one of the ones to the western side labeled as a handicap parking spot. It's probably to our advantage to do it now that we're repaving. We don't have any objection to following whatever the guidelines are to do that, so we would agree that, to, follow whatever requirements are to pull a pavement permit to repave our lot as far as it relates to the requirement of a handicap spot.
Okay, but the site plan that was submitted shows the handicap spot on the east side, so we're going to make a condition that the handicap spot would be reversed to the west side from what was submitted on the site plan, is that correct?
Partially. So we submitted a plan by mistake that had the HC handicap spot on the easterly right-hand side. We've then subsequently submitted a plan without any handicap spot, and that's what we're asking for approval of.
Judy, handicap spots are typically required for any establishment that provides off-street parking. And in this district, is that required, I guess, would be the question. Does this district require this establishment to have a certain number of parking spaces off-street?
Well, it's part of, actually, it's not part of the zoning code. It's, as you know, it's part of the building code to provide handicap spaces.
Handicapped accessibility?
Handicap accessibility.
And spaces.
Yes.
And we don't have either accessibility or spaces. There's a sidewalk that has a 6-inch curb, I think, in front of this facility, correct?
Yeah, I think at the highest at 6, I think it towards the western end of that, the left-hand side, it's almost at grade, close to it.
So you're getting closer, so it wouldn't be hard to adapt to a handicapped accessible facility. Right now, you probably don't have a handicapped accessible facility?
We don't.
Right.
And I think that we preceded that requirement with the building, so we don't have that, and I don't think it's required. But, as part of what we're going to do, I think our contractor, we could have him make sure that he blends that in,
Yep.
so it's even with that and makes sense on the westerly side. It's to our benefit to do that, so, we're not trying to skirt any requirement. We'll follow if this is approved, Mr. McCarthy will follow all of the requirements for,
Would you be open to that as a condition then, that we make the handicapped accessible spot on the west side, rather than the diagram that was submitted without the handicap spot, I guess?
yeah, I mean,
Okay,
yeah, I think we do, but I want to, stop short of the handicapped accessibility to the, and requiring a huge construction job so we're talking about as it relates to parking.
as it relates to parking, but if we're going to put a parking space there, we should make the building accessible, and you can do that easily, I think, like you said, with the asphalt blending into that
Right.
piece, so.
And I think that's what,
I
when
don't
we,
think that's a huge,
no, that isn't, but I'm talking, we have to redo the whole front and,
but if we're going to provide handicapped accessibility, which we should,
right.
we should go all the way and provide it into the building at the sidewalk as well. That's what my point is. And if it's easier to do it on the west side, then it makes all the sense to do that. And I agree with you.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think the petitioner coming in here today with an open mind and already reaching out, but for the action of someone else coming onto your property, the petitioner would not be here. To the credit of the petitioner who has worked over the course of time in that neighborhood with the parking on a dual parking lot building, front and back, I think you've had the positive impact of the neighborhood and the business community as it sits in that site. I also look at one of the comments from the city, to close that off and make an off-street parking space on that street, to me, clearly would create more traffic jams coming down the opposite side of the thoroughfare leading into downtown. So I look at the proposed project. I think you did your due diligence. I think you were put in a position, frankly, you shouldn't have been put in with the encroachment onto your property. I think demonstrating tonight with already having the foresight with your paving company to look at that one particular site and slope it off, I think is a credit to the petitioner and the law firm itself. So I wish you the best of luck. I hope your paving moves quickly and successfully.
Thank you.
I do support your petition.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gary, Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions or concerns. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think to me, when we talk about the requirement of 15 spots, if this was a brand-new construction somewhat, or if we were looking at this, I mean, we always talk about size and shape of lots, and by looking at the plot plan here, you obviously don't have a plan that's completely squared off. You have a lot of angles, so you'd have a challenge just getting to the 15, I believe, for the site to begin with. So again, as was mentioned about what triggered this whole thing, and looking at the existing conditions, and also the flexibility that the petitioner has to, in relationship to the handicap spot, I believe the petitioner has met the burden for the variance that's being requested here due to really that size and shape of the lot, and also their agreement to label on the, so if we could just, I guess all I would ask in that condition for the handicap spot would also be if you could just modify for the last time the document that was submitted for the layout, just showing the handicap spot now on that westerly side. And as far as, what you need to do for the handicap accessibility, I think it's been talked about enough here. We're not here for the handicap accessibility, but I think at the end of the day, you're willing to make some modifications here, and I'm sure you'll do the right thing for your handicap clients. So with that, it sounds like we have just one condition. It's the modification to the plans for the handicap, and whether anything else? Yep, go ahead, Mike.
I just had a quick question, Mr. Chairman, I forgot to ask earlier. I don't know who provided the copy of your site plan with the handwritten spots. Is that a modification that you made, or was that
No, I
the
think that.
planning
that,
office's
Mr. Pegler, is from the-
suggestion to shift
Yes,
everything west
Yes, and then to put a certain amount of curbing in there, yeah.
Right.
That was, so that's what we got from the planning department as comments.
Okay.
And I think you got that as well.
Because it does show that you would still have, if you shifted the lot left or west, you would still have 5 spaces, and then that hashed area for next to a handicap spot. I don't know, did you actually see this, or?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We weren't in agreement with that because that would, materially change the parking scheme that we have.
Right,
It would
okay.
make it, to us, make it more dangerous and more difficult for us to have clients in and out of there. But without that curb cut, we do agree to the part of the reference that the handicap spot should be moved to the left. What I believe is that those comments were provided prior to us submitting the plan that we originally intended to submit.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, and I guess before we move to the vote, the other thing, I think what's key with the site is you do provide, I'm going to call it off-street parking when the business is in an operation. I've driven by there many times, whether people going to Dunkin' Donuts or other businesses, so you're actually providing off-street parking at no charge, which I think you talked about the situation where that location is with the Dunkin' Donuts, and it's really tough to get, you really don't want parking around that corner anyway, so.
That when they park on that corner, there's so many accidents right at that
Yeah,
spot. So we don't, when they come in the morning and the weekends, when I go in there on the weekends and people go to Dunkin' Donuts, we don't tell them they can, but we don't do anything about it. We know you have to be good neighbors there. It's a congested area, and you have to get along, and we plan on continuing to, keep that attitude.
No, I just wanted to add that. Okay, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2016-24 for a variance at 32 Church Street with the following condition: that the applicant provide a handicapped accessible spot on the left-hand or western side and provide revised plan for review.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey,
Approve with conditions.
Member Callahan,
Approve with conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approve with condition.
Member Paglia,
Approved with conditions.
Member Peck,
Approve with conditions.
and Member Perrin.
Approve with condition.
Okay, Ms. Gary, you've been approved. Wish you best of luck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Okay, our next matter before us is ZB 2016-25, the petitions of variance. The applicant is Doreen Yeomans, and the property is located at 40 Rayner Street. And the proposal is for a single-story addition on a single-family dwelling unit that needs a variance for minimum side yard setback requirements pursuant to Section 5.1 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening, board members.
Yep.
My name is Doreen Yeomans, the applicant, and I'm here with my husband Dave. We reside at 40 Rayner Street and have been lifelong residents of Lowell, with our family roots reaching back over 100 years in the city. Our proposal for the addition is to accommodate our growing family. The city of Lowell is where we'd like to continue our family gatherings, along with our granddaughter and our future grandchildren. We've provided each of you with professional blueprints and copies of the plans, and these we believe would complement and fit in well with the character of our neighborhood. The new addition will be in line architecturally to the existing structure, including upper and lower case windows, along with an atrium window that lines up with the neighborhood additions. Also, we take the city's recommendations and will install a 1-foot drip edge. However, we do plan on dressing it up with softscape and flowering shrubs. The existing tree and shrub will be trimmed as required. We've provided you with the updated surveyor's plan with the removal of, quote, inspection plans, unquote. Thank you for your time, and our family would greatly appreciate your approval. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So you've submitted, I believe you submitted the there was a plot plan with showing the addition, and we also, so as far as, I guess the first question I'll ask, can you explain the size of the addition? Can you tell me what was the
Size?
thought process for that?
Yeah, 16 by 16, and we were trying to keep it in line with not interrupting like the sewage and the existing electrical, and that's the only route we could really go that we could afford. I believe it's a 9.2 differential from the footage that we need. So that's how we determine the size and, you know, living space for our family's needs, because we'd like to continue to stay in Lowell.
Okay. And the intention is to use the room as a family room? Was that the?
Correct, for gatherings and holidays and
Yeah. Okay,
family birthdays.
sure. Okay, anything else you'd like to add at this point?
No, if you have any questions,
Yeah.
if I could
Yeah.
answer them.
Well, I think you've been sitting there through a few of these petitions here. You might have an idea of how this is gonna, the process will work. So if you don't have anything else to add at this point, we'll open it up to the public, and then we'll open it up to the
Oh,
board.
okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, I'd like to open it up to the public. Anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up. Anyone that's in opposition? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Robert Maria. I live across the street from the proposed addition. My family has been there since 1968, 48 years. My wife and I bought the house in 1968, and all my children have grown up on the street. It's very difficult for me to come down here tonight and oppose this because the Yeomans are great neighbors. They keep their property as clean as any of us on the street do, and if you've been up there, all the properties are well kept. However, being great neighbors doesn't entitle them to build and require a variance or whatever it requires. It's going to drastically affect the whole looks of not just my street, but Rayner Street and Monadnock Street forever, once this is built. I met with the Yeomans on Saturday night because they didn't contact any of the neighbors up until that time. So I decided it was my duty to go over, and they cordially invited me in, and we had a very nice conversation. I explained to the petitioner, Doreen, that there are many other ways to add to the house and satisfy the needs of your grandchildren. It doesn't have to come out and be 16 feet further out than any other house in the neighborhood. From what I understand, this property doesn't even qualify for a variance because in order to have a variance, you have to meet the requirements of an odd lot that is shaped unusual. There's no soil erosion on this lot that qualifies for a variance, and there's no topography changes that require. This is a nice flat lot. This addition can easily be built in the back of the house and maintain the existing setbacks. However, it might cost a little more. That, unfortunately, sometimes is the cost of getting what you want. You can't always have the cheapest way out and affect the whole neighborhood because of it. I respectfully ask you to deny this petition and to keep the beauty of this neighborhood and the integrity. It is one of the nicest neighborhoods in all of the city. And if you have been in the neighborhood, all the streets, Rayner, Monadnock, and Montview, all have beautiful setbacks. This will affect the looks of the street forever, and I respectfully have to be against it despite the fact that they're good neighbors. It's not easy to do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question I had when I went out to the site and spoke to the petitioner who happened to be outside this weekend was to get a look at what the addition would in fact look like, and that was provided to us this evening. I know there were some comments, we received some written comments both in favor and against the petition, and I think one of them, the one that was against, did mention a box being built on the side of the house, but what we've seen is something with that certainly matches the design of the home itself, as far as both the right side elevation along Montview and on Raynor itself. I do certainly sympathize with the gentleman who just spoke. I mean, it's obvious, and the petitioner and I discussed it this weekend. It's obvious that the very large house on the other end of Raynor many decades ago was, the lot was split and a home was built back in the 70s that doesn't look like any other homes in the neighborhood. But when I walked and drove around the neighborhood, nearly every home on Montview, Raynor, Monadnock, and others had side additions, or maybe they were part of the original construction. So I don't really see this, again, it's obviously a split-level home that was built many decades after that neighborhood was designed. But I don't, bottom line is I don't have any issues with the addition being put on. The setback, the side setback is fairly close to what's required. I think, Judy, if you can confirm that for me, is it 10 feet required, and is it 9.2 that is being provided?
So this is a suburban single-family, and the side proposed front setback for the addition is 9.2. Because there are two streets, the front
right,
setback.
this is a corner lot,
This is a
like that
corner
petition
lot, yeah. So the front yard requirements apply, except for the maximum front yard, which only applies to one of the abutting streets.
Okay. So this is very similar to the application we had maybe a month ago in Belvedere near the Tewksbury line, Fairfield Street or Fairfield Avenue, where the same situation applied with a corner lot that otherwise an addition would not have been able to be built. So.
Right, so because it's front setback, so it's 25, they actually currently have 23.4, and this would bring that down to 9.2.
Okay. I don't have any other questions or any questions or comments right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Dan?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I do want to thank the petitioner for all the detailed plans and photos. You do have a beautiful home, and the addition would be a nice addition to your home, and it would meet the needs of your family. And I do also appreciate the gentleman, the neighbor who spoke. I know it's not always an easy thing to speak on a petition, whether you're for or against it. So I do appreciate that, sir. I do believe that this petition doesn't meet all the prerequisites for the variance, but I do believe that it meets most of the criterias. I'm still kind of, I guess, undecided, so I'll probably just wait and see how my colleagues weigh in on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I read, Judy, from the comments from the, I think it was sent out on the 21st, that when a corner lot, when you have a corner lot, you don't necessarily have to provide the 25 feet frontage on both sides. That you can pick the front door side, for instance, as the setback that would require the front yard. And we almost have that consistently. We have one corner of the house that's 25 and one corner that's 23.4. So it'd almost be like you'd have relief from the 25-foot front yard setback to 23.4. And then the side yard would be 10 feet, and you'd be asking for relief from the 10 feet to 9.2 feet. It's kind of how I see the scenario here from the letter, from the 21st.
Right, so if that weren't a street, if this were not a corner lot, that would be the side, and it would be a 10-some-25 requirement. So strictly speaking, because it does have two streets, it has two fronts. So the front setback applies on both of those sides, on the Montview side and the Rayner side. And for the other two property boundaries, it's side setbacks that apply. So if it were not a street, you're correct, it would be a 10-some-25. If it were not a street, that would be a side yard requirement of at least 10. Yeah.
Okay. All right. There are a number of properties in the neighborhood that, on the next street over, was that Pine Street, I think? Not Pine. I can't think of the one going towards Pine up the hill, that are short. Monadnock, thank you very much. That is, a number of the houses don't have that front yard setback of 25 feet. It's probably closer to 15 or something. So there is some precedent of a smaller dimension there in the neighborhood. And this facade is an improvement with the number of windows you're providing versus the blank wall onto the street side. So it is a conundrum, though, for sure, because you are providing something that the majority of the houses adjacent to it don't have, which is this reduced setback. But because it's a corner lot, you do have this unusual kind of condition where you're obligated to provide the 25 feet, so. I'm going to wait for my other board members here to weigh in. I just wanted to present those observations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I would like to take a moment just to go over a few things that I would like to point out in reference to this petition. Number one, the petitioner did their due diligence, providing us with a detailed builder's plan. The proposed addition itself is consistent with the existing structure, as the windows have been noted, both lowercase and uppercase. As I was on the site over the weekend, there is a topography concern with a lot of the land as far as trying to place this. If the petitioners were to place this in the left portion of the house, it would create an erosion issue and probably another variance issue with the abutment of the garage to the left of their house. As I look to the rear of the lot, I notice there's a back deck and there's a pool, so the detriment of the lot to go back is a detriment to the homeowner as well. As I look to the facade as it stands now, it's a blank sheet, which is not in conformity with the rest of the neighborhood. Throughout that entire neighborhood, I noticed 6 or 7 different houses that all had additions in like windows, atrium types, either on the side or the rear, either to the left of the house, to the right of the house, or to the rear. So I do think I do think the proposal, on its face value, the retention of the trees, understanding to do some softscape around the 1-inch drip. We do have a letter in favor of this petition from a neighbor that was presented to us tonight. I think that the petitioner has been in the city, apparently is a good neighbor. Property is well maintained. I think that Mr. McCarthy's point, at being a corner lot, does give us, we have two frontages here, so, been lifelong residents of the city, been at that property for 13 years. Your goal is to stay in the city and raise your family, and hopefully your children stay in the city, and that's a lifelong goal of most Lowell residents, so, as far as the remainder of the neighborhood, as I drove around, it was almost every other home had a like addition with like windows. So I am in support of this petition, and I'll reserve any more comments to the remaining of my colleagues, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank the petitioner for providing the new plans that were today, because I'm sure with how the structure of the addition was going to be, but it does seem to fit well in conformity with the rest of the structure. And one of my concerns also at the time when I drove around the neighborhood was with not knowing what the plans were, how that would affect the corner lot and how that would affect traffic coming around that. So I think looking at the addition, I don't think it would cause any much of a detriment in that concern. And though I do appreciate the concerns of the abutters, I don't believe that this is going to be any detriment to the rest of the neighborhood. It appears to be in conformity with most of the other houses in the neighborhood, and I'm in approval of the petition. So, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Sean. All right, so the first thing I'm going to mention, Gary made mention, we did receive a communication from Daniel and Patricia Ryan from 47 Montview. I won't read every single word into the record, but they're in support of the petition by the Yeomans. So just so that's for the record, Judy. Okay. So I guess I have a couple of questions. So this is a raised ranch, and based on, if I take a look at the structure, it looks like an addition was put on the back of the home. Were you there for the, okay.
No, when we
So
bought the house.
that addition, it looks like an addition was put onto the back of that home.
Right.
Did you also, was the pool already there when you bought it too? Okay. So we had it was built in 1973.
71. Oh, I did one, yeah.
Built in 73, and if I take a look at the home that's currently there, and I take a look at just about 99% of the homes, either on Montview or on Rayner, Monadnock, it's probably one of the youngest homes in that neighborhood. So it doesn't, I'm not going to say it doesn't blend in, but I know when I look at the structure, it was pretty much a raised ranch. Looked like somebody put an addition on the back, added a pool on the back. So there's been a lot of work already done there. And now what you would like to do is now add another structure onto the side of the home. And you meet it's a 10,000 square foot lot, and you meet the requirement for the size of the lot. But I have some concerns with the size of the structure, and that's why I asked it at the very beginning if there was, what were you thinking? How'd you come up with 16 by 16? Because one of the key things for me, when I come up Montview, and there's looks like there's an open piece of land next door to you there. I don't know if it's owned by somebody on on Monadnock.
Oh, yes.
But when you come up, there's like, it's an unbuilt area, and then you have a couple of trees on the side. Are those trees on your land, or are those city trees? Or do you have no idea?
Right on the line.
Right on the line,
so I'm
right.
really not sure.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the concerns I had, and this was sight lines, when I come up Montview, and because it's a two-way stop there,
Right.
it's pretty much open right now. When you come up Montview and you're approaching, even from where that wooded area is, it's pretty much open. And I was envisioning a structure being put on 16 feet out.
Yeah.
And not that that's going to block the whole intersection, but I had a concern over sight lines
Right.
for people coming up Montview and approaching that stop sign.
Right.
Because then the next thing I looked at was where you were, obviously, you're building it outside of that addition that was put on to the back. You're putting this new structure, you know what I mean?
But a little further down, of course.
No, I understand that. So if you're going further down, then you're getting closer to the intersection.
Not much.
Well,
from there. But the- but the-
all
all
right,
right,
let
go
me,
ahead. I'm sorry.
just let me,
Yeah,
I'm just giving you my opinion.
right.
I drove the neighborhood, I know the neighborhood very well. I drove the neighborhood quite a few times from different angles, just to see what the proposed structure would look like.
Right.
And that's my biggest concern with the addition, is the size, because we're only talking about 9 feet that you're gonna be from the property line, because you need 25, and you're putting 16 on, which only leaves you 9 on that side. And we have this issue with the corner lots. This isn't the first petition we've had with a corner lot where we as a board have to treat we almost have to have two sides that have to meet the requirements of the variance. So one could argue about a hardship here. My concern is more for, and this is my personal opinion, I'm more concerned about safety.
Right.
Now, I did not receive anything from the city that talked about a safety concern. I took a ride up there numerous times just to get the feel. And I took a look at it and I said, okay, if we want to do something, does it have to be 16 by 16?
Well, that was our wishes and, to go through with it. Where the tree is, where the street is, the tree, which is like city-owned, we're still gonna have some footage before where the
No, I know.
structure will be. So when you drive up, either way, you still have the trees there, do you know what I'm saying, along the street. And then the structure's still setting in.
Yeah, because there's no sidewalk on that side of the street either, is
Correct,
there?
correct.
So, to me, if there was a sidewalk there, that might have eliminated some of my concerns. I'm not saying all of them, but, so the size of the structure, the trees being there, and I believe I even called Judy and asked who owned the trees, because when I looked at the plan, this really doesn't tell me anything. It looks like it was more design work to show the 2 trees there. But I looked at it and I said, okay, if there's city trees, and there's, I really have a concern about safety,
But
putting that structure is.
Yeah.
So if there were 2 trees there and they were both on city property, I know we don't like to take trees down,
No,
but I'm very concerned about children, and because there's no no sidewalks,
right.
just that we're leaving that area, and I have a huge concern with the sidelines.
Well, as far as the tree goes, as far as the structure,
Yeah.
we will go into like trim, because it's gonna
Sure.
be on this side. And as far as the shrub that's existing there, that's easily to be removed. I mean, we
Yeah.
planted that shrub there. So that's not a problem, getting rid of that, because we're gonna dress up around the addition, like I stated earlier, with, the requirements. and, short flowering shrubs to, for the neighbors and ourselves, to make it look nice like the rest of the neighborhood.
I guess I have a concern with what's being proposed, 16 by 16. And if I even look at the size of the home, that's a pretty good sized room, 16 by 16. If it was located somewhere else on your property, I probably wouldn't be making the comments. It's just that it's located on where it's being located, and you have no other opportunity if you're going to do that unless you build up. And you're not here to build up, and I understand that. But I think to your neighbor that's in opposition, I think he was pretty frank with saying that, your property, you do a great job. I mean, you can't drive by there without taking a look at your property. It isn't out of character with the neighborhood. It's very well maintained. Is it a different structure? Obviously it is.
It is.
And I guess that's one of my biggest concerns. Again, I go back to the size. But if you're bent on, that's the size you
Well-
want to go with, the 16 by 16, and I'm just speaking for myself.
Yeah.
The other members can have their say. And that's the proposal, what it's going to look like when it's
Yes,
finished?
yes.
Okay. So does that,
There's different views if you want to continue.
Yeah.
It shows, like, the street side,
so are the windows?
on the street side that you
Yeah.
just,
Are the windows going to be the same as what you currently have in your home?
yes,
Okay.
on the front, yeah.
Yeah.
And, well, we're going to dress up the street side with that atrium window.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And what's the siding going to be?
The same, the vinyl.
Okay.
It's going to match the house, as you see it, same colors and materials.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned about the drip, the
Yes.
drip line. So these new structure that you're adding on, is it going to abut with the current structure, or does it slightly
It-
overlap?
The roof, are you talking about the roof?
Well, the roof and the,
Well,
Structure.
actually, the footing is only going to be 15 by 16, because the front of the house is going to, have like an overhang to match
Yeah.
to conform with the front.
step-
So it's going to be
step back.
step back,
okay.
Does that answer that
Yeah,
question? And-
yeah, I was
okay.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, because, I have an issue with the size, and I think the other thing is, it's almost like, that room that you have, the room that's on the back of the house, if your new structure was coming more back down Montview, I might feel differently, but I'm being honest with you, that's just my biggest concern is how far that new addition's coming out, 16 feet, because of the sightlines. So,
Would it make a difference?
it sounds like
Would
that's
it-
the size,
Well,
you're
would it make a
proposing.
difference if it was 14? Because,
Well, I'm asking,
I
I
mean,
guess I'm
14
just
as far as-
asking you if you obviously had a set of plans you wanted to present. And-
I did. I mean, 14 was a little bit smaller because the inside walls,
Mm-hmm.
I can't go smaller than 14 because,
Yep.
we're, it's small, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna lose room because, like I said, the footing is, well, that's 50, well, that would even go smaller, but.
Well, you're coming out farther because, again, that addition on the back, I think that was, if I take currently what's there, if that addition was, you didn't have any windows on the side, almost like your main home,
Right.
you probably could have come back and ran it deeper, but not as far out,
You can't
just to,
there's a retaining wall there in the cement where the pool is. If you're talking the
No, I know.
long way, it'd cost $100,000 or I don't know, I'm just throwing out a figure. It's just like way too costly.
well,
this
yeah,
is-
you kind of ran out of
options.
you kind of ran out of landscape where to put this addition on, because
Well,
you basically have the back completely enclosed, and, yeah, the addition has been added to the existing home,
yeah,
so you only have one spot to put it in,
exactly.
and,
And it does look kind of, doesn't conform with the neighborhood, the character of the neighborhood with that straight, as you can see. I mean, you
Yeah.
can see it what it looks like. I mean, we think it would bring, character as the other homes that are beautiful around there.
sure, Yeah.
And dressing it up and,
yep. All right, I think at this point, anybody else have any other comments or questions?
Through
Yes,
you, Mr.
Dennis.
Chairman, I think the relaxing the 16-foot dimension to 14 certainly helps that. One other feature that you're doing on this piece is that you're reducing the massing of the addition so that it doesn't match the existing roof line. It actually is reduced in height
a little bit, yeah.
to, again, soften that whole aesthetic so it looks like a smaller piece rather than the massing being as large as the existing house. And there are a number of houses on corners in that part of the city that do the same thing, where they have a appendage that comes off that is reduced in mass, and also come into the a different dimension on one side. So the front door would be 25 feet. The side on the other street corner would be reduced from that. So this is not unlike other locations nearby, actually 3 houses down on Rayner. So there is some precedent, I think, for this, and I think relaxing it to 14 feet helps. So,
Well, I don't disagree that there are many homes that have additions, but I think that's where my issue is, again, with the 16 by 16. There are homes that have column additions on the side, but I believe those homes, square footage-wise, are larger than your home. That's why I was making the point of, your home isn't one of the largest ones in that neighborhood, obviously, because of the maturity of the neighborhood.
Right.
And I don't know what the history, I mean, the house has been there since '73, so it's not like it just went up last year.
Right.
But the thing I did notice is there are many homes that have these additions, but they also are two-floor homes, and they have, definitely, they're larger square footage homes than your home is.
Right.
And so the additions that were put on, they don't look like they're out to the property line, or they're smaller in scale to their existing home. So anyways, I've spoken enough about the size, but anybody else have any comments? Okay, so,
We'd love to stay there, so.
oh no, I'm not, it's difficult for me to really discuss it with you because, you have an opportunity, I have a problem with the size, and so I'm not in support of what you're proposing, the 16 by 16. That's my biggest opposition, is I'm concerned about the sidelines.
Now, would you approve a 14 by 16?
If you, well, if you want to modify it, so the 16 down to 14 as far as coming out?
Right.
Is that what we're talking about?
Correct, right, because that's what the concern was, right?
Yeah, and does that modify anything else in order to do that? Would that change anything else? Where you're going to locate it, or how it's aligned with?
No, not at all.
All right. Well, and Judy, I guess I'll ask, and this may or may not have to belong to the petitioner. I'm not concerned. I'm interested about the trees. I'm not looking to take trees down. I mean, that's the last thing we try to do.
It's a
but
beautiful tree.
I'm just curious if those are city trees or, I mean, I would think you would know if they were on your land, but that's okay. Sometimes they're right on the border.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
we thought by trimming them, that it would take care of
Yeah.
any issues and They're beautiful trees, you know, but the shrub, that's fine to, the smaller shrub, we can take that out, that's not a problem.
Yeah. All right. So I guess a condition we're talking about is changing the dimension from 16 to 16 to 14 to 16 regarding the width of the home. All right, anybody else have anything?
That would be increasing the side yard or front yard setback from 9.2 to 11.2 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I knew what the right size was, but, you know, it'd be nice if you could throw something up and then look at it, but, you know, so I know I've spoken way too much, and I'll be blamed about this when I get home, but, you know, there's a hardship here, and this is what we get into with these corner lots, and I think the real issue here is you have nowhere else to go except, like I said, going up, so I guess I'm just checking one more thing here on the driveway. So what's happening with the driveway now?
Just gonna shorten the length up a little bit.
What's that?
Shorten the length up a little bit, that's all.
Yeah, you gotta be
Yeah.
3 feet, 3
Right.
feet
Yeah, we
away,
Yeah.
right?
have the driveway right against the addition.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and Judy, the comment that was in here from the city about lacking detail in the structure facing Montview based on what we received this evening, I'm going to assume that satisfies the city?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yep.
Yeah, the city even put it in here, the board may wish to inquire about how many trees or shrubs would need to be removed. So you're telling the board you don't anticipate removing any trees, you would just be
No.
trimming, cutting back?
Yes, yes.
But I'm gonna ask the city just about those trees, I'm just curious.
Okay.
And you would, if the trees are on your, is there one tree, or there's 2 trees,
There's
right?
just one tree and one shrub,
Yeah,
but the shrub is ours.
yeah. All right,
Oh, there's another tree, but it's down the end of the driveway.
yep.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, about the trees, I guess, according to the work that the surveyor did, it actually looks like the trees, one is completely on city property, and then one is right on the lot line, unless I'm not reading this correctly.
Yeah, well, like I say, I've been there numerous times. I'm also looking at Mr. Myra's pictures that he submitted to the board, and I mean, the trees almost look like, you know, based on this picture that was taken, we're in alignment. In fact, this is pretty interesting, the picture that he gave us. I noticed on the telephone pole, there's that, I'm going to call it that wooded area. There's an actual sign on the telephone pole, which you can't even read. And I can honestly say, I never even saw this sign. So I don't know if this is a Go Children slow or what it is, but I guess maybe whoever owns the land, again, this could be an argument about, well, there's a telephone pole, so we know that's city land. So these 2 trees are probably on your property, based on what I'm looking at, because the telephone poles are definitely on city property. So if those are owned by the city, Judy, we might want to trim up these trees just so people can see that. Never even saw it. So thanks, Mr. Mara, for sending in this picture here. It might be helpful to have that exposed to people. All right.
It is a Go Children Slow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that would make perfect sense to me. Again, that really is my concern about coming up there and what the the structure being out as far as it was. And there is no sidewalk.
Mr. Chairman, it does appear as though the curb to the house is probably in the vicinity of 35 feet. It looks like there's room there for the sidewalk, for a future sidewalk that the city has there, so there's a fair amount of green space from the curb to the property line, is my point. And so I think those trees probably are accurately depicted on that existing condition plan, being either on the property line or on the city.
Okay, so the only condition we have is, so we'll make a modification to the plans that was submitted to reflect 14 feet in depth, okay? And any other, I think I've asked 3 times, any other conditions, comments? Okay, could I have a motion, please?
3, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2016-25 for 40 Rayner Street for variance with the following condition, that the applicant resubmit the 4 sheets provided tonight to depict a 14-foot dimension, thus reducing the front yard setback variance from 9 foot 2 inches to 11 foot 2 inches.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Approved with conditions.
Member Callahan,
Approve with conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approved with conditions.
Member Paglia,
Approved with condition.
Member Peck,
Approve the conditions.
Member Perrin.
Approve with conditions.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Yeoman, you've been approved.
Okay,
Wish the
thank
best of
you.
luck. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And Mr. Myra, thank you very much for coming this evening. Well, Mr. Myra, the meeting's, no, meeting's over. I can't discuss it now, the meeting's over. All I'll say to you is you might want to talk to Judy, what your options are. Thank you, sir. Okay, our next matter before us is ZB 2016-26. Petitions a special permit and variance. The applicant is Hunt Real Estate Services, Inc. of 21 Nottingham Street, and petition seeking variance approval for the installation and internal illumination of signage for a newly constructed Family Dollar. The applicant is seeking special permit and variance approval under Section 6.3 of the City of Lowell zoning ordinance. The parcel is approximately 59,000 square feet of land and is located in the light industrial zoning district. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Hi, I'm just Doug Murray from Hunt Real Estate. I did bring colored elevations if you wanted them.
I think, yeah, well, I'll take a larger version since I'm getting old now. You know? All right, sir, if you can tell us about your petition, please.
Yep, we, if you recall, spent quite a bit of time in planning on this building, and during the development of the architectural elevations, we always indicated that we would have essentially 2 fronts, one facing the parking lot and one facing Nottingham. As you know, the code requires that the signage be on the street side without getting a variance, so that's what we're here tonight to do, and for the building signage. On the site signage, we have a pylon proposed at the corner down here by where we come close to Chelmsford. We are one lot back, so we are not right on Chelmsford, but that corner is where our pylon would be. It is in conformance with the code at 30 square feet. Because we have the over 300 feet of frontage, we would be entitled to 2, but we don't see the need for one further down Nottingham. Because of the orientation of the building and having worked through this with planning, we're right on the street on Nottingham, so our parking lot and main entry faces towards Chelmsford Street. So we'd like to locate our main signage facing Chelmsford Street.
You want the main signage?
Yeah,
Okay.
our large signage would face, the main facade is here, and that faces the parking lot and faces down towards Chelmsford.
Yep.
The smaller facade here, we're showing a 36 square foot sign would face onto Nottingham. By right, we have 102 linear foot of frontage on the building, 204 square feet of frontage. We're proposing 144 square feet facing the parking lot and 36 square feet facing Nottingham. Also, as part of the thing, we're asking for a special permit for interior illuminated signage rather than exterior illumination.
Okay, so you're going to have I'm going to call it the signage on the building facing Chelmsford. You're going to have the signage facing Nottingham, and then you're also going to have the pylon?
That's correct.
All right, and the size, what was the size of the pylon?
Size of the pylon it's 29.75 square feet, so it's under the 30 square feet per side.
Okay, and did you, is there an example of the pylon sign?
If it was not submitted with the document, I did not bring that one. It's a square pylon, it's a rectangular pylon, 7.4 by 4 feet high.
Yep.
It's on a post, it meets the requirement of being less than 20 feet. There was a request from the development services to, make the pylon maybe match the pylon post match the building color.
Yeah.
Red and white are the standard Family Dollar colors for their pylon, for their post. It would just simply be having it painted another color. But they like it's a red box with the signage and either on a white or red post.
Okay. What's that you're passing around, the pylon sign?
Yes, that's what they submitted was the pylon.
Okay, and you have a comment in here, both the Domino's and Chelmsford Street motor pylons and building signage on Chelmsford Street are internally illuminated.
That was just, a reference to the character of the neighborhood.
Yep, yep. Okay. All right, anything else you'd like to add?
Open for questions.
Okay. All right. What's the hours of illumination going to be?
Probably a little past, it'll be, the store's open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., which is the same for all the other stores in town, the 3 that we have located now. And then the lights go off, as soon as they can turn them off after 10 o'clock, they're not going to spend the money. It's usually, half an hour by the time the staff closes up and leaves.
Yep, okay.
They do have, the store will have night lighting around it, which we went over with the planning board.
Yep, okay.
Security lighting.
All right, what we'll do is we'll open it up to the public, and then we'll open it up to the board. Thank you, sir. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of comments. I like the idea that, it makes sense to have the main signage facing Chelmsford Street for two reasons. One, it will be easier for folks to find the store if they don't see the pylon, and there's a gas station or a car repair business right on Chelmsford Street.
Correct.
And also for the people on Nottingham, again, I had mentioned this when you came before us for a special permit or variance earlier. Because so many of the properties on that street were rentals, I think even up to this moment, folks are probably wondering what's going on across the street. And by having a smaller sign on the Nottingham side, even though it will be lit sometime into the evening, at least it won't be quite as intrusive as the, you know, the larger sign would be if that was actually on Nottingham. But, and I know we're not really considering the pylon sign, but do you own some of that property where you're placing the pylon, or is it agreement with the?
No, we are on the edge of our lot.
Oh, it's the edge of your lot, okay.
Yeah, we're not down on the corner, we're at the end of our lot, which, if you stand there, it's maybe 60, 80 feet from the corner of Chelmsford.
And I think you already said this, and I know Dennis will ask it, so I'll ask it anyway. Will the sign be internally illuminated
That is correct, that's what we're asking for.
with LED, or?
They are asking us to do LED now. This project, because it's 3 years old, it is not scheduled to get LED.
Okay.
If Family Dollar is willing to pay for it, we'll upgrade. But right now, it's still standard fluorescent bulbs.
Okay. Okay, thank you. No other questions or comments?
Thank you, Mike. Van?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the signage and the image looks amazing. And overall, I think this business is going to be a great addition to that business kind of gateway strip. So, good project overall.
Thank you, Van. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, you're meeting all of the zoning criteria for signage as far as the sizes.
That is correct.
What about the height of the pylon? It's not listed.
20 feet, which is the max. Yeah.
That'll also be in here. So the only real variance that we're looking for is the internal, special permit is internal illumination.
That's correct.
Okay.
And the variance to mount the main sign off the street.
Yep. Okay. Nice package that you put together here for the submission.
Thank you.
It's very complete, so thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the extensive plans and then the layout and the presentation. The only concern is there any particular reason why there's no LED thought to this internal lit, or is that?
I will go back and ask Family Dollar, but
Yeah.
it is not the way these things are priced and scheduled.
Okay.
Is they actually only plan on it taking about a year to get through permitting, and it took us much longer.
Okay.
So it's just the way the project was scheduled and that budgeting purpose. We as a developer on this project are not, we're not making money on it. We get a fee to do this job, and Family Dollar controls all those costs.
Okay. I was just curious. We've had other sign companies come in, and it's their way of doing business is either or, and we generally are looking for that. So
Okay.
I'm okay with the plan. I think it's very well laid out. Obviously, there are other Family Dollars in the city, and they've voted well. I'm not looking to make that a condition. I was just kind of curious. That's all.
Thank you.
No further questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions or comments. So.
Thank you.
Judy, just a quick question. So we got two votes here, one on a special permit, which is for the internal illumination, correct? And then
Yes.
the variance. The variance is in regards to the actual signage, but is it due to the proximity to the residential neighborhood, or what's kicking off the variance here?
Is the signage that's facing the
Yeah.
parking lot as opposed to facing the street?
Okay.
It does make sense for them to have their primary signage face the parking lot, because that is where their entrance is.
Right, but we had already, as this gentleman stated, they were here numerous times between planning board, and then I think they even came before us, obviously not about signage, but, so we already knew that the front entrance is going to be facing Chelmsford Street, correct?
That's correct. It's just 6.3.8.2 says it has to face the street.
Right, right. So I'm just pointing out, this is another occurrence that, based on certain things, it triggers certain actions, and it's not like you're looking for something special. I mean, things were already approved here, so, okay. All right, so based on the presentation this evening, for this final plans here, I believe the one condition would be the hours of operation, you know, we can say, I know you mentioned the stores close at 10 o'clock, so could be by 10:30 that the lights are off. And then, was there a second condition somebody had? No? Okay. All right, so what we'll do is we need two separate votes. If we'll do the special permit first, and then we'll do the variance second. So could I have a motion on the special permit first?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2016-26 for 21 Nottingham Street for special permit for internal illumination with the condition that the hours of operation not exceed 10:30 PM.
Okay, could I have a second?
Second motion.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Approved with conditions.
Member Callahan,
Approved with conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approved with conditions.
Member Paglia,
Approved with conditions.
Member Peck,
Approved with conditions.
Member Perrin.
Approve a condition.
Okay, our next vote will be for the variance. Could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2016-26 for 21 Nottingham Street for a variance to locate the Family Dollar sign on the parking lot side of the structure.
Okay, could I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Approved.
Chairman Callahan.
Approved.
Member Callahan,
Approved.
Member McCarthy,
Approved.
Member Paglia,
Approved.
Member Peck,
Approved.
Member Perrin.
Approved.
Okay, sir.
Thank
Been
you very
approved.
much.
Have a good evening. Thank you. Okay, our next matter before us is ZB 2016-27, petitions of variance, and the applicant is Luis Ortiz. Property is located at 86 Grand Street. And the petition, the proposal is to construct a carport without meeting side and front yard setbacks. The proposed project is located in the traditional two-family zoning district and requires variance approval from the zoning board under section 5.1 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. Mr. Ortiz here?
Yes, we're right here.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Thank you for being
Good evening.
patient.
Thank you.
Okay, what can you tell us about your petition?
Well, we're just seeking an approval for our carport that we have. As you can see, one of the things I want to point out is that we've been here for 2 hours, and I have a child who's autistic, and he's been sitting here very patiently because he loves the carport. That's the reason why we put it. Can you say hi? And he hasn't said a word, which I was kind of scared because this is the most, he's been very quiet. But it's because we explained to him, even though he doesn't quite understand much, what we were going to do here. Yeah. But he knows it's something that he loves, and it's his carport. That's all I can say, that he did really, really good, and I'm very proud of him.
Yep. So, just for my edification, what can you tell me about the structure that's actually there, the carport? Who put it up? When was it put up?
It was put up 2 years ago, and some people from North Carolina who came in, but the money was donated from my church for him because he's very isolated, and we wanted to find a way to get him out of the house. And since I don't have any trees, he hates the sun. So that was the only thing our church came out with an idea for us, and I can honestly tell you it has worked for us.
Yeah. So I'm sure one of the reasons why you're here is obviously you had something built and it's not up to city standards, let's put it that way. You should have had a permit pulled first.
I understand, I apologize, we're new to this, so we
No,
just learned something new.
I don't mention this as to slap your hand. We've had other individuals come before us with carports. I don't really remember seeing a carport like yours that the structure itself is totally different than most that we see. A lot of them are very challenging, let's put it that way. But I think it was a few months ago, you were going to come before us, and then you decided to, for whatever reason, withdraw.
We didn't have the money, yeah.
And come back, yep.
Yep.
Okay. So you had a company from out of state, and they obviously didn't come down to City Hall and pull any permits?
Nope.
Okay, yeah, which seems to be a common theme that we hear from other people like yourself that have had carports put in. So, okay, so the structure's there, and you're before us, and if you don't have anything else to add, I think you've explained the purpose of having the carport. I know it's put vehicles in, but obviously for your son. We'll do that. We've done with all the other petitions. We'll open it up to the public, and then we'll move it to the board, okay?
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Open up to the board. Mike?
I just wanted to add, Mr. Chairman, I think Judy or someone from the office forwarded us an email late last week, just from the building commissioner and the area inspector, that they had gone out, because one of the questions you had for us and a question that I had is, now that it's the carport has been built, whether it's up to code, and the response from the building department was that it's been inspected and does meet code.
Yes, and that is usually the concern with carports if they are not meeting the setback requirement, is the safety. And so they said, basically they said this is not a safety concern, that it was built according to the manufacturer's specifications.
I don't have a concern so much with the front setback, it's the side. Again, it's already been erected, and I'm not going to be asking for it to be taken down, but and again, like the chairman said, we've had this issue before with out-of-state companies coming in and sometimes taking advantage of folks that are looking to add some value to their property. But my only concern is the house that's to the right of yours. I don't know if it's a multifamily or apartments. There are a couple of windows there where they're essentially looking out. If they look out the window, I know there's a row of hedges there which are well maintained. I think they're on your property, the shrubs along the right-hand side of the carport. I guess, again, the structure is there. It's a very congested neighborhood. I just wish in hindsight either it could have been moved a little further away from that property, because again, if I lived in the house next door to yours, and I looked out my window, I would be looking at the roof, and I could probably just reach out the window and grab it. It's so close. So that's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Van, before I have you go, we received, I want to read this into the record, we did receive a document, and the person that wrote this didn't cite their name or address, but they're in opposition to you having this carport. And in reading this, there's a couple of things that they point out, and Judy, I know it's not fair to really ask you the question. You may or may not know the answer, but obviously they're in opposition, and they have the same concerns about how it was put up, and they mention here, put up with no problem when others in our neighborhood have attempted to do the same and were refused and fined. Now, do we have is there a formal process if you want to have a carport, if you want to have one put in? Is the process that somebody that's installing it would come down and pull a permit,
Yes.
building permit?
Yes, they would ask for a building permit, and then the building permit would be reviewed by our staff for conformance to zoning.
Yeah, and I don't know, they said, are you aware that anybody's ever come down and was refused for a carport?
Yes, we have quite a few applications for carports.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe that's why they wrote the letter that, again, I don't know who the person is, but you did receive this in the office, correct?
Yes.
Was it sent by mail or hand-delivered?
It was sent by mail.
Okay. All right. Okay, and their other concern is that they say that at some point you were in opposition to somebody else getting a carport. Just telling you what's in here. Okay, and they're in opposition. So I just wanted to, since they mentioned about people being refused, that's the first I've ever heard. I mean, even though we've had carports come before us, now I'll know in the future, Judy, if there's a actual process here and people being refused, I'll know that. Okay. All right. So that's read into the record. And Van, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think the only comment I really have is that, I think it's really a horrible thing when, like, you pay a professional company or contractor to come and provide you a service, and they pretty much, they do the service, but they don't do it through the right process. And, I think these people pay good money to build, I'm sure, a carport, and, now they find out that it's, not done with all the proper permits. I think fairly recently, or a few months back, we had a person, similar situation, but the carport they built had a lot of safety issues, so they actually had to tear it down, I think. There's no safety issues with your carport, but I just think it's horrible when these contractors would take advantage of, people who try to do something nice for the home. So those are the only comments I had.
Okay, thank you. Van, Dennis.
Through Mr. Chairman, I have a couple questions. So the carport was erected a couple of years ago?
Yes, 2 years ago.
2 years ago,
Yes.
okay. And we're talking about a variance tonight. And what triggered the variance? Was it an inspection by the city, Judy, or how did that come to light?
I'm actually not sure if it's either an inspector or our zoning enforcement officer does, he's looking for zoning code violations on registered vehicles. He might have seen it, or it's a neighbor who called.
I think
So-
I know what happened, though. I think it was a neighbor. It was our next-door neighbor, because he had asked us, where did we get it? And we told him. We even gave him the company name. So maybe because he owns more buildings, so probably he knows the codes and things like that. I don't know. But we didn't know. But I think it was because right after he asked us that, 2 weeks later, we get the letter in the mail. So we know it had to be them.
Okay, that's
But it's
enough,
okay.
enough said.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that
Yep.
they know my son, so it's okay. I hold no grudges.
Now, how long have you been at this address?
At our house, 7 years,
7 years.
yes.
And it's a nicely maintained property. It seems like you do a nice job with it.
Thank you. We
Other
try.
than the carport issue.
I know.
And it's unfortunate, and I would like no more of them to come before us that don't meet proper zoning. And I think that we should try to make a concerted effort in the city to make sure these contractors don't do this to other people like yourselves.
Definitely, trust me, they will know.
I really think we should be taking this much more seriously.
No, I will.
But it's not a safety concern according to the building inspector, so, and you do a nice job maintaining your property. And it seems like a worthy kind of piece here, so I guess I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Carrie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I won't belabor my disdain for these out-of-state contractors coming into our city, putting our citizens at financial risk and putting them in a position where they have to come in front of the board
Yes.
with anxiety and stress. It should be beholden upon these contractors. We've had this before. It's no secret that this board does not take kind to these vendors coming here and frankly taking advantage of our citizens and putting them in a financial detriment and putting them in anxiety. You did happen to mention you know the name of this particular company?
I think
Okay.
I still have the receipt, yes.
Okay. I know in the past, we had several carports over the last few years. When you said North Carolina, it immediately rang a bell to my head here because maybe a year and a half ago, a North Carolina company came in and did the exact same thing to a citizen. So, although we're not in here to police that, that information in the future would be helpful. I don't know the avenue in which to go that without overstepping my boundaries, but at some point it needs to stop because you do maintain the home. It serves a purpose. I'm happy to hear inspectional services, no safety issues as we have with other carports, being closed off and the like. And certainly, the need for what you're using the carport is not in kind for what it's set up to be, but it has a greater purpose. And I applaud you for coming in here and your son coming in here and being patient and
Thank you.
understanding how valuable it is. So that bodes a lot to me. So I won't belabor the issue. I'm in favor to leave the structure up. I just wanted to be on the record once again. If this company from North Carolina happens to have their address fall in my lap, I'll be certainly happy to send them a letter to stay out of Lowell. No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the petitioner for, obviously coming and doing what's the right thing after you finding out, getting stuck in this situation where you didn't understand. And I share, obviously, I think you can get the idea that the board does not take too kind to these companies coming from out of state. But, and also, I know we got a letter from an anonymous neighbor that voiced their opposition. And to be quite honest, I don't take any merit to what they're saying. If they were really in opposition to this, they should have been here. They should make themselves known. And even driving around the neighborhood, just going to check out, you turn the corner, you're right on the corner lot, you turn the corner, there's two carports sitting right there. Now, I don't know if they've been approved or not, but in my quick review of them, it looks like they're even closer to the opposing property lines than yours is. So I'm in approval of this, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Okay, so it looks like we know why you're here. We know what triggered, or we think we know what triggered why you're here also. But the main thing is you're here because the structure doesn't meet the prerequisites for a variance because of setback requirements. But obviously, when you contracted with these people, it wasn't discussed if things, again, were done properly. They would have been told. They would have come out to the site probably with the city official, determine where the carport would be set, and you may not have even agreed where they were going to put it. So, and we've had the city of Lowell, two officials go out there and review the structure, and so Judy, it is in compliance with the building code, correct?
Yes, yes,
So
it
at
is.
least we have a structure there that the city officials have signed off on, that as far as structural soundness, so that's always key for us. And I believe, you know, as far as prerequisites regarding the setback, I think I've already addressed that because of the situation with the contractor. I don't think there was any, were there any conditions or comments? Yes, Dennis? Yep.
As I think I've mentioned with other situations like this, I'd like to make a condition that the carport not receive any additional enclosure, such as garage doors or solid walls to the sides or rear.
Definitely
Okay,
not.
you agree to that?
We won't.
Okay, all
I
right.
mean, that's not our, we didn't put it there for that.
Yep.
God knows what we did,
Okay.
but yep.
Well, we just want to make sure if you do in the future, then
Oh,
we can
trust
say,
me,
"Oh, hey."
trust me. This was very, like he said, we were very anxious. It was hard on us.
Yep, okay. All right, if there's no other comments or conditions, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2016-27 for a variance at 86 Grand Street with the following condition, that the structure not receive any additional enclosures such as garage doors, solid walls in the side or rear.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey?
Approved with conditions.
Member Callahan?
Approval with conditions.
Member McCarthy?
Approve with conditions.
Member Paglia?
Approved with condition.
Member Peck?
Approve conditions.
Member Perrin?
Approve with condition.
Okay, Ms. Ortiz, you've been approved. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to say thank you? I just want him to say thank you.
Sure.
You want to say thank you, puppy?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next matter before us is ZB 2016-28, petition special permit. The applicant is National Sign Corporation. The property is located at 32 Reese Avenue, and petition seeking special permit approval for Chili's Restaurant to rebrand their existing signage pursuant to section 6.3 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, sir. Appreciate your patience.
It's okay. My name's Mark Conserva. Actually, I think Judy has a correction to make. I'm with,
Showcase Cinemas.
yes, Showcase Cinemas. I'm with
Yeah,
Metro Sign and Awning.
It was properly advertised. There was a version of the agenda that had erroneously had the Chili's on there, and then we did change the agenda to show Showcase.
Oh, okay.
That's unfortunate. I was expecting a Chili's meal at 9 o'clock this evening, so.
They serve food at Showcase, right?
Movie tickets.
Yeah, get yourself popcorn, yeah. Yes, sir.
This signage, I'm with Metro Sign and Awning in Tewksbury. We're the applicant representing National Amusement. The drawings reflect a corporate rebrand that National Amusement is doing to all their locations, and we ask you to approve it.
All right, so, going to take down or remove the existing and
Yes.
put up Showcase Cinema Deluxe.
That's correct.
Okay. And the X Plus wall sign. Okay. Is that also going up too?
That is going up, yes, that is an addition. There's one in the rear and one in the front.
Okay. So front. And that's rear and front for the X Plus, correct? Yeah,
That's
front
correct.
elevation.
That's correct.
And so rear elevation. Yep. Okay. All right, so the Showcase Cinema Deluxe will be at the front door and also facing the connector, is that?
That's correct.
Okay. Yep. And they're both, size of the signage is the same on both
That's correct.
rear and front? Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay. All right, so let me open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone here like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Open it up to the board. Mike?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman, just echoing the comments of the planning board and in the package that we received, the size of the signs is not going to change. It's a rebranding. The X Plus wall sign is an addition. Certainly don't see it as an intrusive based on the size of this building and
Slight change to the size, but it still meets the...
still meets, right, exactly,
design,
still meets
yes.
the code, so. No questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Van?
This is straightforward, I have no comments.
Thank you. Dennis?
Through Mr. Chairman, I think it's a nicely submitted package. I especially like the environment will be positively impacted by significant decrease of up to 60%
Yes.
going to the LED.
That's
So what
correct.
is it currently? It's fluorescent then?
It's some sort of tubing, fluorescent tubing, but
Yeah,
it's very
wow.
old. Yeah.
It's a big, usually we don't see it as much as that. That's great. The pylon sign isn't part of the package.
No, that's correct.
So that's getting the old branding to remain? I mean, that currently has a different graphic.
We have already secured a permit to
Okay.
reface that pylon. It
But
has
it's a
nothing to
later
do
date.
with the special
Okay,
permit
so that'll be-
request.
Got it, okay.
Yeah.
Good, okay. I think it looks appropriate. Nice job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think it's an appropriate-looking sign, so it's modern and professional, and they come in with LED. Obviously, Metro West Metro sign is in line with the board and the LED process, and I thank you for your proposal.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions or comments.
Yep. Well, I like, as one of the other members said, the package is well done. I think if we look at that whole area now between the tower and now the cinema and a few of the other businesses, obviously the growth of that area and rebranding, as it was mentioned here, fits in well with that whole area. And signage is obviously a key element of that. And I'm sure once the new signage is up, hopefully it makes it a more attractive facility. I know the business is undertaking a change also in their operation.
Signage really reflects more sophistication, I think.
Yeah. But it'll be a nice welcome piece, and as the city also mentioned, it's one of the gateways into the city, so it'll show well. So
That's right.
we thank you for that. I agree with the rest of my board members, so could I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2016-28 for a special permit for Metro sign and awning at 32 Reese Ave.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey?
Approved.
Member Callahan?
Approved.
Member Paglia?
Approved.
Member McCarthy?
Approve.
Member Peck?
Approve.
And Member Perrin.
Approved.
Okay, sir. Been approved.
Thank you,
Wish best
Mr.
of luck.
Chairman.
Yep.
Thank you to the board.
Yep. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you to Judy.
Yep. Okay, so we have no other business. So you gave us some nice paperwork to look at for our next meeting, huh, Judy? Boy, yep, yeah. Judy's tougher than Joe, you know? Comes in with a bigger package. All right, if we have nothing else, so next meeting is May 9th,
May
correct?
9th.
Yep. Okay. Nothing else said, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Through Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
So moved.